Welcome in everyone. Hello, back for another live episodes of Adventures in Business. Mandy, we're here. We got another episode. How was your weekend?
Hi, everybody. I'm on location.
Yes.
I'm in Las Vegas. I'm at IMAX. I've been on the road since Saturday. A former guest, Tim Mulligan, and former two-time guest, and I know he pinch hits for me as a guest host sometime. He wrote yet another play called Point Loma. It's about a haunted house in Point Loma in San Diego. And it released in New York earlier this year in June, and he brought his play to Palm Springs. So I got in the car, I drove to Palm Springs to see his play, which was, I didn't technically have time. I originally said no to this because I'm at IMAX on Sunday. It's just with the renovation, there's so much going on. And then I thought about 25 years ago, how Tim Mulligan gave me my very first hotel job when he was HR director. Okay. And how I owe my whole, hotel conference career to him. And like, he has shown up for me so many times in my life that I was like, Mandy, figure it out, get in the car and just figure it out. So it ended up being amazing. I got in the car, I drove to Palm Springs. I went early so I could have a little pool time with my girlfriend and her husband. Okay. And that was a great catch up. Mm-hmm. Then went to the play, and the play was scary and funny, and it's perfectly Tim. It was awesome. Plot twist. There's a plot twist at the end. Good. And then he had like an after party, and that was great too. But then I drove from Palm Springs to Vegas, and I stopped in Yucca Valley Joshua Tree along the way because, I'm in the process of creating some of my own retreats for next year. Yeah. Yucca Valley, Joshua Tree is like one of those areas. So I was like sussing it out, like, will it work? Will it not work? And I don't know about you, but like the desert is so magical for me, just like the way the sun feels and the way those yucca trees look and just the scenery and the rocks and the weird people, like it's all my jam. So I got so excited to be, in that area that it like pumped me up. It totally fueled me with so much energy that when I got to Vegas last night, like I was ready to start the week. I just felt so ready, and I had a big speech this morning, and that's done. And I just felt like because I took that 30 hours for myself and like filled my tank, I just feel so vibrant and shiny from that little bit of time. So I'm glad I did it. I was hesitating at first, and live and learn. I'm just glad I did it.
Live and learn. Very good.
What about you?
Your weekend was much more exciting than mine. My weekend, I DJ'd on Friday night inside a Durango casino for 5 hours. So that was good. That was long shift, but it was good. And then Saturday, I just kind of recovered. Sunday, watched a little football. Then, yes, after football, went out with two friends of the show. Both Courtney Stanley and Melissa Majors are in town for IMAX. So we met up for a quick dinner. And now we're here, and this is a big week because in addition to IMAX, which I'm going to DJ tonight, and I'm going to speak on Wednesday. Then I'm going to Colombia at the end of this week.
That's
So,
right.
yes.
You have been working on that trip, Amani.
Yeah.
Like, because we had Juan Carlo from the tourism board, the tourism company in Colombia last year on the show. And
Yeah.
you were like, should I, shouldn't I? And then I feel like you were all fired up, like right after you met him, right?
Yes.
Are
Yes.
you
So,
doing any of the things like that he
not
suggested?
yet, but we still have some time to make decisions. So we'll make some decisions. And yeah, so that's my week. So I've been like kind of preparing a little bit and getting ready to go.
Ooh, wait, are you doing the show from Colombia next week then?
No, I'll be back by Monday. It's a quick trip. It's like
Wait,
a Thursday in and a Sunday night out.
are you kidding me? Where do you fly through Bogota? Do you fly? What do you go to Cartagena? What are you doing?
Fly through Miami.
Oh, so Miami direct then
Yeah. Yeah.
to Bogota,
Yeah.
Cartagena.
Cartagena. Yes.
Cartagena. Oh, are you staying inside the walled city, outside?
Right outside.
Oh, God, that's gonna be so great. I'm so
Yeah.
excited. Okay. So next week,
Yes. I'll
this
fill
is
you
like
in.
fancy and fast. Next week, you'll like you're just like jet setter. You're just coming and going. Sweet.
Speaking of jet setter, that's a good
Yes.
segue. That's a good segue
Welcome. You're
for
welcome.
our guest today. So I met Jess. We're both part of Brand Builders Group, and I met Jess during my first in-person accelerator event. It was like April 2024, so it's been like a year and a half, and we were in the same dinner group, and we went out, and I swear that dinner was like 3 hours long because we were talking. The group of us were talking for so long, and then I would see Jess at all the other events, and we're like, "Oh, what's new? What's going on?" And Jess's business has grown tremendously in the time I've known her. And I remember the last time we were at the accelerator event this past January, I want to say. And she asked a question about the ones and the threes, and the ones, the threes, and that thing. And that was something that was very, very memorable. So we're going to talk about that. But just so you know, guys, double Emmys, 2 Emmys, double Emmy award-winning producer,
She fancy.
just like an amazing human being. And so she's gonna like educate us today and everything. So with that, no further ado, let's bring Jess Goldberg to the stage. We're gonna give you a round of applause. There you are. Yes. And how are we doing today?
I'm doing well. I'm so excited to be here. I'm excited to be here with the two of you. This is gonna be great.
It's gonna be great. It's gonna be great. So we ask everyone the question: if we gave you 30 seconds to tell us who is Jess Goldberg, how would you answer that question?
I'm a leadership communication expert. So I help people be able to communicate their messages clearly, rally people behind a mission, and show up better and more magnetically as leaders.
Okay, that magnetic. So since you use magnetic, we've seen that word several times. What's your definition of being magnetic?
Being a magnetic leader, which is one of the kind of core principles of all the things I teach, is being able to draw people in so that they want to follow you. They're not following you because they have to. They're following you because they actually really desire to. That there's a part of them that is doing it because they want to and not because they feel like they have to follow you.
Got it. Now I want to go back and I want you to tell us how you were feeling when you got that call or you were in the room when you won your first Emmy Award.
So I've won 2 Emmy Awards for my work at ABC News, and I got it through an email. It was an email notification that I was on the winning team for my first one, and it was really exciting. There was something that I felt really proud of it. And, the three of us were talking a little bit before we started the show about my Emmys. And, one thing that comes up again and again for me is I am very proud of them. And it was an exciting moment, but the awards only mean so much. Like the biggest stories, the things that I did that were the most important, I felt that like were the most impactful as a journalist, the things that I've helped, C-suite leaders with the most, those things don't necessarily win awards. And those are the small moments, the moments of telling someone a word of encouragement that actually changes the course of their career. It's the time where you listen to someone's story that maybe was afraid to share it publicly and now for the first time is getting relief from being able to share their story publicly. Or, I was on the team that helped cover Flint, Michigan and the water crisis that was going on there. And like covering a story that no other journalists were covering and getting it out into the public was really important. And so some of those things that don't win awards are even more valuable to me than the awards. So the awards I'm proud of because they at least showcase some of the effort and energy that I've put into my work, but they aren't the end all be all.
Got it. Okay, Mandy, we'll kind of let you take it from here. I have more questions, lots of questions, but I can't hog Jess all to myself.
I know. And I was going to start with one question, but I'm not going to. I'm going to merge into that. But I want to hear your trophies, not trophies moment. Like you just said, Flint, Michigan, the water story is a story that you felt could have gotten a trophy, like you're proud of it. In your career, what is that one story that you're like, I was really proud of this work. I was proud of the way I operated as a human. I was proud of the impact that I made, even if it didn't win a trophy, so to speak.
Yeah, I mean, some of the things that there's so many, it's really hard to like pin that there's just one story that was impactful. I mean, I covered the early days of the Ukraine crisis when the first issues were going on with Russia and Crimea. That was something where no one else was talking about it. And it was something that wasn't in the American public's eye as much and needed to be. I covered the first unfortunate bombings of Bashar al-Assad when he was the leader of Syria, when he dropped chemical weapons on his children, on the children of the country and of everyone. And it was just horrific and horrible. And people needed to know that there was a red line that we needed to put as as the whole world on like where we stand on what is allowed and what people can and cannot do to their people. So that story was one that felt really important to be getting that information out into the world. I've also covered stories though of, stories that have surprised me. And those ones have been valuable too. So for instance, I used to be personally, had my own viewpoints around coal mines and wasn't sure, what the challenges were. And I covered a story around a coal mine closing. And by speaking to the people that were actually losing their jobs there and what it was doing to the community, it gave me a more nuanced view, more nuanced understanding of what are the challenges. Now, environmentally, I still have my own personal beliefs. And as leaving journalism, I have developed stronger beliefs. But as my time as a journalist, I was very unbiased and had to tell stories in a way that I didn't want to share my opinions. But telling that story helped change my own personal opinions about the nuances that show up in different issues, when sometimes we might be somewhere on an issue and we might believe so strongly it should be this way, but we don't quite understand why someone else might believe the other way. And so that's a story that helped me understand, okay, there's maybe more nuance here than I initially thought.
Good for you for being open to a new perspective. I feel like it's so easy to be in our mind and be a certain way about it. And then when more data is revealed, you're like, oh, like you said, the nuances are there, but you're open to that. I think that says a lot about you. I want to talk about someone that I love, Dan Harris, and you worked for 10% Happier, which if nobody has listened to it, what an awesome podcast. And Dan Harris is such an awesome dude. What is something that you learned from doing that podcast? Because I feel at that time, like podcasts they were happening, but they were still new. And I remember that was a huge deal when he left. I think he was Good Morning America, right?
Yeah, he was at Good Morning America, which is how I got connected with him because I was the lead producer overnight at Good Morning America.
Because you were at Good Morning America. I just remember he left Good Morning America and everyone was like, what the heck? And I too, I have severe anxiety disorder. Like I was diagnosed in 2015. So when he started sharing his story about his panic attacks, I understood, I understood deeply how it could be critical to share, but I also just love that he left and is doing something he loves. So what did you learn from that experience on that show, on being on 10% Happier?
So for a little bit of context, I actually joined to work on the app. So I was the lead producer that helped build the app content. So all of the training content that, Dan was leading that would help with meditation teachers. So it was these interviews and kind of thoughtful, kind of more like journalistic documentaries almost that we created around different problems that people might be facing in their mental health and how they can overcome them. So we worked a lot on, I did a series with him on anxiety, and you just mentioned anxiety. One of the things I learned from this Harvard professor that I worked with when I was there was that anxiety, what it is it's an overestimation of a threat and an underestimation of your ability to cope with that threat. So what I mean by that is an overestimation of a threat is in our brain, we are overestimating how bad it might be if this happens. So, we're worried that, maybe we're going to say something that's going to get us fired in the meeting when we're trying to, share our opinion, that we're overestimating it. Now, of course, you can get fired and maybe that could happen, but likely you speaking up and sharing your opinion is not going to get you fired. Now, the other thing is we're underestimating our ability to cope with even if the worst case scenario happened. So even if you did get fired for, say, sharing your opinion and it wasn't a politically sensitive thing, it's like, you're sharing an idea of where you want the company to go. Well, even if for some reason you got fired on that, you would still be able to cope with that. You would still be able to figure out, okay, I have the skills to be able to apply for jobs, to find a new one, to move forward. And even though it might be hard, even though it might be a tough economy, you have the resources and the ability to do that. And so what often is happening when we're feeling this sense of anxiety is we're kind of caught between those two. And that was one of the key things that was really powerful for me as someone who has had anxiety myself. Every human has anxiety. We live in a very stressful world. It's hard not to have anxiety. But it really helped me to understand and frame that and put that in better context.
I love that. I think that's so well put. Like how creating those mini documentaries and curating that content, how did that change your mindset about mental health or just talking about mental health in general?
My perception was changing a little bit before I even left to start working at 10% Happier. So one of the reasons why I left journalism and went into mental health was because I saw these challenges of the way that many of us were approaching world conflicts, political issues. And I initially thought that if we gave people information, we shared with them what was going on in the world, maybe they would have more nuanced perspectives. Maybe they'd be able to hold their perspective and someone else's perspective of what might be going on and be able to move forward or negotiate better solutions. But what I ultimately found was underneath that, information alone cannot solve that. People need to have the skills and resources to be able to regulate themselves, move through whatever might be triggering them, whatever might be going up for them, so that they can come to a place of being able to be open to hearing someone else's perspective. And so that's kind of why I made that shift into mental health, was being like, okay, I think the foundation starts with giving each person their ability to heal themselves. Then they can start to move forward to heal the bigger societal issues and heal what's going on with them interpersonally and others.
Beautiful. So many opportunities for points of view changes over your career. It's so awesome.
Yeah, I mean, when I look back at my career, in the beginning, I was just like, where is this going? I look back now and I'm like, it seems like it doesn't make sense. I was a journalist, then I went to mental health tech, then I was an AI, now I'm a leadership development. It doesn't seem like it makes sense. But when you zoom in, there's like these key skills that at each stage I really unlocked, and I learned something new that led me to the next phase that I'm in now.
And it all builds to one place. Like you are exactly where you're supposed to be. And you might not have been there unless you were on Good Morning America. You might not have been there without your AI knowledge early in the game. Like it's all taking you to exactly where you're supposed to be right now.
Yeah, and I think that that's true for all of us in many ways, that all of our different things that might not make sense in the current moment that you're in, but over time it will make sense as long as you are playing an active role in it.
What was your inspiration to starting your own business and kind of going out on your own?
It began with this itch to help people learn myself. So I've always been part of, in journalism, in the mental health documentaries I was doing, I always love to teach. I love helping make things really complicated, really simple. And so I had a desire to teach more. It started with me just starting to teach that skill of how do I make these complex things simple. And so I started teaching communication workshops just on the side while I was, in tech. And then I noticed that my employees that I was running a team of were struggling, that my team that was leaders underneath me, they were struggling to lead their teams. They were struggling to communicate their vision. They were struggling to give effective feedback. And so I looked at them and I was like, okay, I think I need to help them with this. How can I formulate what I do well, or what I am doing well right now, what I've learned from other great leaders, into a way that they can now execute it on it step by step, systematically, in a way that's really easy. So I built out these little programs for them. They started kind of iterating, moving faster, being able to, my team started hitting better metrics. And I was telling friends about it and they're like, could you come in and do that for my team?
Yes.
And so I then started running them for friends' companies. I decided to create a public-facing program, and that course, it's called Management Mastery, Communicate with Influence, started taking off. And I was like, oh, maybe this is something bigger than just a side project or a pet project.
Mm. And then what in the time you've had your own business, what has been maybe one element of the evolution of your business that has surprised you the most?
Hmm. I think in the early stages, I thought it was going to be only one-to-many teachings. So I would run workshops that were kind of virtual or that were all from me originally. And now what it's evolved to is I actually go inside a lot of companies and I build out custom workshops based upon what are the topics or areas that they need. And so it still is one to many, but it's way more customized to the specific problems that an organization might be dealing with. And I'm far more hands-on, which I actually really love because I get to see the changes in a company culture than I initially envisioned for myself. Because I didn't even know that that was a possibility for me. I just had this like vision. Okay, well, why don't it, that's why actually what I started with, because I started with my team and I started doing it really tactically hands-on. But then I thought the business would just be a course, which is an amazing part of it. But now it is actually me going inside companies and helping them with the exact issues maybe that I was dealing with before, and now tons of other ones as well.
Interesting. Now, as a college professor, what do you teach? How does that benefit you? And how do you balance between being a professor life and being, entrepreneur life?
Amani's
know this one
asking
too.
for a friend.
Yes,
Yeah.
I'm asking for a friend.
I know this one too,
Yeah.
as someone who's very similar. We kind of straddle the two different worlds.
Yes, we do.
So I teach 2 courses at Columbia University for graduate students. They are Presence and Persuasion for tech leaders and The Compelling Communicator. And the second question that you asked, I think, was how do I actually balance and straddle both of these? So at times it's a lot of work to straddle all of my different engagements. So sometimes it works out better than others. But I mean, the balance is always figuring out, okay, what are the key priorities? How do I balance? Maybe I slow down during the times in which I'm not teaching. I definitely can ramp up the number of clients I'm taking on. And so I try to close down on the number of clients I'm taking on during the times when I'm teaching. I luckily only teach 2 classes and it's 1 class per semester. So it's not a crazy amount that is on my schedule in terms of other professors who might have, 3 or 4 classes in a single semester. I'm not sure how many you have. I think you probably have more. 4 classes, that's a lot more than only straddling 1.
Yeah.
So the demand is, I've made sure that it's measured to what the amount is that I need and so I can balance my client load.
Yeah.
I want to talk about this content in the leadership courses and classes because you talk a lot about being magnetic. So I've got a 2-part question. What is something a leader can do today to be more magnetic? Currently, let's just say it's a leader that's semi-magnetic. What can that semi-magnetic leader do to be more magnetic? That's part 1.
Yeah. So for part 1, it really depends on the individual. So I've developed a framework I call my 8 archetypes of influence. And each of those are a different skill set that you need as a leader in order to kind of have this level of magnetism, in order to be effective. And so I would have to take a look at the individual leader and understand where are their strengths and where are the areas where they might be challenged. Now, there is a different way that we can think about it. So those are kind of the skill sets that they might need in terms of what they could do. But I'll give you a kind of simpler framework to give whoever might be listening right now a quick check on what they might be able to do. There are 3 keys that I believe are critical if you want to be magnetic. So this is confidence. This is how do you see yourself? Do you believe in your ideas? If you do not believe in yourself, it's going to be real hard to get other people to believe in you. And unfortunately, that's one of the biggest challenges I see with people wanting to move into a higher level of leadership. When I see people stuck in kind of a senior director role and they're trying to move into a VP or C-suite level, typically one of the biggest issues is confidence or the way that they communicate their ideas. So how confident do they sound? How precise do they sound? So confidence is the first one. That can be a really big one. Wisdom is the next one. So it's not just do you have knowledge, but do you have the wisdom, the ideas, the way, the strategies to guide us in the right direction? Because if you do not have wisdom, then people might think of you as a friend. They might think of someone that they might want to, talk to, have a good time with, even if you're confident, but they're not going to actually listen to your ideas if they do not believe that they have sound judgment behind them. So confidence is first, wisdom is second, not necessarily in order. And wisdom is not only do you have the knowledge, but can you communicate it in a way that it lands with someone else? Because what often I find is many leaders have what I call the curse of knowledge. The curse of knowledge is when the more expertise we get, especially in technology fields, I find this happens a lot, the harder it is for us to actually remember what it's like to be a beginner, to not know the information we currently know. So you need to figure out, how can I translate the information I know in a way that's going to resonate with the other person? And then that brings them closer to me. So confidence, when you are confident, people are like, oh, that person's got it, I want to follow them. When you actually have good ideas that are sound in judgment and that you communicate them effectively, they're like, okay, I'm willing to follow this person. And then the third one is warmth. And warmth used to not be important. 50, 60, 70 years ago definitely did not matter as much, especially when we worked on assembly lines. Authoritative leadership actually was far more effective. But now the current generation of employees really call and really need leaders who they feel like care about them. And so you need to have the ability to express that, hey, it's not just my mission I'm caring about something that's better for all of us, or that you're able to listen to what your employees might need or want. Because if you just have a direction that you're going, but you don't spend time understanding what they need or want, you're not going to get them on board. Maybe you're going to get a short-term spike where maybe it's compliance and they're like, oh, I have to follow this person. But in the long term, that's going to breed resentment. And so if you want them to keep following you, you want them to have that magnetism where they just like, I am going to follow this person through any of the trenches. They need to feel like it's going to end up being good for them too. So those are kind of the three to check in with. Okay, which one maybe do I need to work on a little bit? And then the 8 archetypes are kind of the tools and techniques for how do you actually improve in each of those areas, and step-by-step tactics.
And we can find the 8 archetypes on your website. So anybody that's watching this, Jess's website's scrolling on the ticker. And if you're not watching this, if you're just listening, Jess, give us the website update real quick.
It's just jessgoldberg.com. And if you go to jessgoldberg.com/resources, there's a guide you can download. That's a free guide to just like understand my 8 archetypes.
I love that. Okay. Second part of the question.
Part 2, we're going.
Part 2. What if you are a leader who is just not magnetic? And we all know those people, like, not that they don't want to be, but they're just not. They're not wired that way. They weren't brought up that way. There's something about that, which is fine. But what if you're just not magnetic, but you still need to lead teams of people? How do you handle that in a situation?
Well, first of all, I believe that being magnetic is not something you're born with or not. It's actually a skill set you can develop. Now, some people have learned those skills because maybe they had parents who had those skills, or maybe they had to develop that skill early because they needed it in order to do well in school, or they had a friend who was able to do that. So they learned and picked up some of those skills along the way, not knowing that they were picking up some of these skills. So I believe that even if someone feels like they do not have that now, it's not an element of who they are as a person. It's a skill set that they are lacking, and they can absolutely develop that skill set.
I love that. And it's true. And I appreciate what you say about the 6 generations in the workforce right now. Command and control work really well with the boomers and the veterans, right? But the more you get into Gen X, Gen Y, Gen Z, Gen Alpha, like it is a practice that you have to hone and dance around and figure out how do you lift people up in ways that inspire them. So I appreciate you calling that out, and not in a way, I think so many people are like, well, they're going to have to learn and put their big girl panties on. It's like, no, like we adapt to them. They adapt to us. Like this is how this works. So I appreciate you framing it from that perspective too.
Yeah, living in an intergenerational workforce can be really challenging. And there's something that all of us have to use, which is our muscle of curiosity. What is it that actually is going to work best for the specific person in front of us? Because yes, there are stereotypes too of what might work, But an individual, depending on the culture that they were brought up in, could have very different things about what they care about or what they might need. So we need to always get curious about, why is my leader doing it this way? What might be the reason behind it? And also, what might be the reason behind, maybe my employees might need a different way of me showing up. And each employee might need me to show up in slightly different ways.
Yeah. Now, I want to kind of go back to your time that you spent with AI. And as someone who worked in the AI space, what are the tools that you use nowadays in terms of AI? And how do you kind of use it to help with your business and personally?
Yeah. So AI has been a huge part of my business and helping me escalate and grow faster and ideate better. And yeah, it's still not a replacement for me.
Mhm.
And so the key tools that I use the most are Claude, ChatGPT. I build custom GPTs, and then I love using Cassidy AI, where I build out. It's kind of Cassidy AI is actually my favorite to use because it is model agnostic. Model agnostic means I can write a prompt and I can switch between Claude's model, between Grok's model, between OpenAI's latest model, and I do not have to say I'm only building things through this one large language model provider. And that gives me the possibility to, if someone makes a better update, I can easily switch to that model over the current model I'm doing. If something breaks in one of the companies, I can easily switch. And I can also build kind of like chained ones. So one thing kind of feeds into another thing, and I can break down the prompts in a way that it will all build upon each other to make it more effective.
Interesting. Okay. So, like, in terms of the future of AI, what should we be kind of keeping an eye on? And maybe for people out there who are still a little bit wary of using it, what could you say to maybe convince them that it's time to get going and not get left behind?
Well, first of all, I think that there are fewer and fewer people who are wary of it. But if they are wary of it, I think that in many ways right now, I think we should be as wary of it as, there is reasons to be wary of it, but it's wary of it in terms of politically, in terms of societally, how are we going to use it as a whole? What limitations do we want to? That's, I think, important. But if you are concerned about those, you absolutely even more should be using it so that you can understand and be part of the debate and conversation about where the limits should be and what kind of limits we should have. So if you are concerned about it for political reasons, then you absolutely should be testing it out so that you can understand and be part of the conversation. And if you are scared because you're like, oh, this is technologically too hard, the interfaces are getting easier and easier to use every single day. And so, if you're a little bit nervous, start to play with it because it's going to get better and better. Right now, even if it feels a little bit overwhelming, it will get easier. In terms of how we should think about things moving forward, I really think that there are two key skills as humans that we're going to want to continue to refine that are going to be hard for AI to replace as we kind of continue to get more and more abundance of AI, abundance of content, abundance of being able to do all these things. And those two key things, which is why I spend a lot of time in my work teaching these things,
Mhm.
judgment and taste. AI can make hundreds of different poems, but it's up to you to figure out which one's actually good. Someone might say that the poem that sounds like Shakespeare is good. Now, is that poem good for your audience? You have to be the one that has the judgment and taste to say, no, actually, that's not the style. I actually want it to be more like a rap. And that's the style that would actually resonate more with my audience. And that's the kind of stuff that I feel like is actually good. So judgment and taste is something that will still be unique to us because AI can say it has judgment, but right now it just will flatter you and tell you whatever you think is good. It doesn't have true judgment
Yeah.
of being able to discern between two items. And that will take us to be able to have each of our own flavor of that judgment and taste of what actually good is.
Yeah. You remind me of when we were on the panel together in
Yeah.
Nashville in July, and that was the most recent et cetera, when we were talking about music, and AI is a hot topic. So some of what you're saying in terms of taste specifically,
Yeah.
it fits right into that model. So very, very interesting thoughts there.
So if you can spit out, thousands of songs in a minute, who's to decide which is the one that should
Yeah,
actually
yeah,
get
yeah.
the airtime, which is the one that
Exactly.
should go to your users, that should go to customers and clients? someone has to make those decisions, because otherwise we're just going to get flooded with everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or in your business is not going to be heard and thing. If you put out 10,000 songs, no one can even listen to all those.
Yeah, exactly. So we're to the point in the show now where we flip the script and we let you ask both myself and Mandy any question you want. So who do you want to ask the question to first, and what is said question?
I'm going to ask the same question to both of you.
Okay.
So one of you is going to get a little bit longer of a time to figure it out, but we will do, Amani, we'll go with you first. So the question is going to be, and you can have a second to think about it too. What do you think yourself 20 years from now would tell you today? What piece of advice?
Oh, okay.
What piece of advice do you think your future self would tell you that it would give you what you need today?
Today. Let's see here. I would say the Amani from 20 years from now. So we're thinking like 2045. Ooh, child. Okay.
Yeah. He comes in and he's like, and you're like, give me a piece of advice. And he like drops this bomb of wisdom to you. It's exactly what you need right now.
I would say he would say, when it comes to your business and your personal life, like follow your instincts, stick to what you are doing, and just see it all the way through. That's what I think he would say, because, you know, we still question ourselves and we're like, should I do this? Should I, like, even for example, like, should I start like, we get distracted, membership or this or that. He's like, no, just stick to what you're doing and follow your instincts and just be patient. That's what I think he would say.
Stay the course. Stay the course, honey. Stay the course. Yes. I mean, I'm just going to say the first thing that came to mind. 20 years from now, when I'm sitting in my backyard with my husband, I'm going to say, your house is beautiful. All of that time that you spent hating that dumb project manager that you don't even remember his name anymore. All of those thoughts you had about that godforsaken renovation, it doesn't even matter. This is why you did it. All the money, all the time, all the painstaking conversations and decisions. You don't even remember half of it. This is why you do it for your forever home. I'm coming to the end of that. It's still kind of muddy up here in my brain, but 20 years from now, I know I'll be sitting in my backyard saying that, feeling it for sure, but I know I'll be saying that.
I love that.
Yeah.
Good. Now, we have a couple other questions we usually ask, and I'm like, okay, well, no, I'll ask this like kind of now. First, two-part, and then I'll go to you, Mandy, because I know I've been kind of hogging Jess.
I like it. You know, you got to do you, boo.
Yes. How has, because anyone who's with BBG, I always ask this question on the show, is like, how has being a part of BBG helped you grow your business and grow personally?
Yeah, I mean, they've helped me a ton. And so I would say that in terms of helping my business, they've helped me see the path more clearly about where I can continue to grow and how I can grow. And they've given me good accountability, like being able to like have the accelerators, to have the events, to have the touch points. Like the accountability is really helpful for me to make sure that I hit the metrics I've set up for myself or hit the goals I've set up for myself. And having a coach helps do that. And so BBG, they provide you with a coach if you want to help you in your business. And mine has been incredible to just like help me every single week, not every single week, I meet with her once a month, but like every month to check in, where am I at? Where am I going? And how do I make sure I get there? And, you know, that's one of the biggest values. I always recommend everyone should have a coach of some sort in their life that helps them on whatever area. If you're building a business, that's great. Then find a coach that's building a business for you. If you're, you know, whatever area you are in life that you're trying to figure out, if you're, you know, really care about making, you know, finding love in your life, well, find someone who's an expert at that and get them to help you on that. Like, I think those things, the things that we care about most, it's best to have, you know, sometimes some other support on it too.
Yeah. And actually, now my next question is going to kind of flip the question that you asked Manny and I back onto you, but we're going to take you back to Tempe. When you first finished your undergrad degree from Arizona State, and actually, you do say that you finished your master's and your bachelor's in 4 years, if I recall that correctly. Did I remember that correctly?
Yeah.
So you kind of were humping through school. So congrats to you. We're going to go back to Tempe. We're going to run into Jess that's just graduating from undergrad and give her advice based on everything you know now. what advice would you give your younger self?
So there's this phrase that I give myself now that my partner and I have come up with that I would give to her, which it's called trust the process.
Mhm.
And it's just like things don't always seem like they might be going where you want it to. It kind of leans into what I was talking about with the career path changing. I had companies that went under. Like my first job out of college, the company went under 2 years after me starting it. And it was just like I had never been laid off before. I never even knew that was a possibility. Like to have a company all of a sudden out of nowhere, 250 employees are laid off. It was really confusing to me. And so, I put blame on myself of like, why would I choose this? And so just, I would continue to tell myself, trust the process, keep doing what you're doing, follow your, alignment and trust the process in it.
Beautiful. Over to you, Mandy.
All right, I have two final questions. Question one, I want to dip into your leadership prowess for a second.
Yeah.
So what is one thing a leader can do to command respect without saying a word?
Listen louder than you speak.
Ooh. What do you mean by that? Say more.
What does that mean? Tell us
Spend
more.
more time. We have 2 ears, 1 mouth. Spend more time listening than you do speaking. And so this is like, if you're not even saying a word, how can you showcase that you are paying attention, that you're interpreting and taking in what they're saying if you're not even speaking? That might be through a simple nod. That might be through when they finish, you are able to reiterate what you heard even more precisely than they said it. So they feel like, oh, what I just said was actually heard by this person. Even if you don't agree with it, you can still be able to reiterate their argument, maybe even better than they could.
It's beautiful. It's good. I love on your website how you have some of those, how you talk about these little headlines, because it's everything a leader wants to do better at, some more than others. So I really appreciate that. All right, shifting gears now, you've got a new course coming up. So tell us about your new course, your management mastery. Tell us a little bit about that. What are some key learnings people might get out of it?
Yeah, so Management Mastery is the original course that I built. It goes live though. So I run it as a live cohort, which means people get to learn live from me. They get to ask questions, they get to practice, they get to be a cohort of their peers. And it is all about the 8 critical skills you need to develop as a leader in order to be effective. And in order to hopefully get promoted, if you're a CEO, in order to get your team to be effective. And it is based on my proprietary framework. I built out the 8 archetypes of leadership. So for instance, there's the scientist, and that's about observing behaviors objectively without judgment or bias. And in that, you learn my 7-step framework for how do you give effective feedback. We go through step by step. What do you say in each part of that process? How do you open up the conversation? What do you say that's going to actually motivate them? How do you close the conversation? So each one of the lessons is based upon one of the archetypes, and you get to learn all those live with a cohort of peers. I had people from LinkedIn, from Notion, from Microsoft, from Google come through the course, get a lot of value out of it. It's a top-rated course on Maven. It starts tomorrow, so Tuesday, October 7th. And then there's another cohort that will be taking off in December that's also live as well. So yeah, come join us. You can find that on my website under jessgoldberg.com, and then just go to courses. And when you click courses, you'll see the cohorts that are available on that.
I love that. How many people do you accept per cohort?
It's never larger than 25.
Oh, perfect. That's great. And then people learn from each other. They learn from you, but it's small enough that people can actually.
It's small enough that everyone gets like hands-on attention. There's time for Q&A where people can just ask me anything that might be going on for them that's hard.
Nice.
Aside from registering for your course and checking out your website, you've spent an hour with us, which we really appreciate. How can we lift you up? How can we support you and put energy towards all the good stuff you've got going on in your world?
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate it so much. And, it's been a pleasure to be with you too and to be on your podcast. And, for all the listeners who are listening in, it is a pleasure. If you're like, hey, I would love to have Jess come in and help me out with my company, or I know someone who their team is either struggling with conflict, or they're dealing with they're new managers that can't give effective feedback, or maybe there's some cross-functional collaboration issues, or maybe you're just like, hey, we're doing well, but like we want to take it to the next level. Then, find me at jessgoldberg.com. There's a place on there where you can schedule a free call and you can book a call with me to talk about how I might be able to support your organization. I run workshops. I do C-suite coaching. I customize, like I said before, for what works for your organization.
Awesome.
Perfect. Love that.
All right. Yes. Well, we want to first say thank you for appearing on the show. I look forward to seeing you again at another BBG event very soon. And just all the wisdom. I mean, we could talk for another couple hours because I had more questions. So we'll have to have part 2. But yeah, just thanks for sharing your wisdom and expertise. And we'll give you a round of applause and get you back to the green room. So there we go. Round of applause here. Awesome.
Thank you for being here, Jess. Really nice to meet you.
Thank you. Yes. All right, Mandy, we're done with another fantastic show. Who do we have to look forward to next week?
We have Karen Stevens, who is really fun. I was actually on her podcast. She's the Chief Marketing Officer at Revenate, which is a hospitality tech company. She is fun, sassy, smart, and is going to give us a run for our money next week. So I'm really excited Karen's making time for us.
All right. That's good. Thanks again to Jess Goldberg for being an amazing guest today. Remember to rate and review the podcast on whatever platform you're watching or listening on. Subscribe to us on YouTube. Tell a friend. And we will see everyone next week. Take care, everyone.
Bye.